So, as we discussed in our previous video, the purpose of IR35 is to determine your employment status, whether you are an independent contractor working for your client or whether you are what's called a disguised employee, whether you should really be on the payroll of your client. Figuring out your IR35 status can be very tricky. The main way you can do it is by applying 3 tests, which have been established in case law as kind of the de facto way you figure out your IR35 status. Here's Chris again with a bit of background on those tests.
The 3 key tests of IR35 are personal service, control and mutuality of obligations. These tests were underpinned by case law in 1968. When looking at the case law, you only have to though pass one of the 3 elements to not be within IR35. Seeking professional help can really help in this matter, as they could look at both the contractual wording and the working practices. This is particularly important because if HMC were to investigate, they would look at both these elements as well.
So, as Chris mentioned there, another important IR35 test to help determine your status is called personal service. Now, this refers to whether you personally have to complete the work that you've been contracted to do. A good way to think about this is if you were an employee for a company and you turned up to work every day and did your work, and then one day somebody else turned up and did your work, that'll probably be a bit weird. If you are an independent contractor, that's perfectly fine. So it's all about whether you can assign work to other people. A good way to demonstrate this is through something called a substitution clause in your contract. This is a bit of wording that says that if you are unavailable or unable to complete the work, you'll send somebody else in your place to do it. Important thing to keep in mind about substitution clauses is that you have to control how the substitution is made. You can't let your client determine who the substitute would be. And it's also important to keep in mind that HMRC look at the actual working practices of how you manage your business day to day. They don't just look at the wording of your contract. So in a practical sense, would you be able to send a substitute in your place? If you are able to, you're probably outside IR35. If you're not, it could be a sign that you're inside IR35 and a disguised employee. So that's the basics of personal service. We're going to go into detail about the other 2 IR35 tests in separate videos. In the meantime, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have any questions about IR35 at all, drop them down in the comments and we will do our best to answer.